What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So it has been a minute since I've done a Crew 2 Summit, but I did end up seeing the Street Showdown here, and I had to do this one. If you are wondering, this is going to get us the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution 6 GSR. This thing looks dope. Easily one of my favorite drift cars. On top of that, you get the Aquatic Splash Smoke, which I would say is going to be a pretty dope one. If you are wondering what the next summits are, we're going to have the Player's Choice after that. We're also going to have the Valentine, and then finally the Night Shift after that. So at least there's going to be a good amount of summits after this one, but I would say a lot of people are probably going to jump on, compete, and go after the Mitsubishi. I gotta admit, guys, I think it is worth getting. Besides all of that, though, let's jump right into this, starting off with these skills. So the first one is going to be a slalom. It is going to be on a racetrack, and yes, if you are wondering, I did use a drag car, guys. I know it sounds dumb, but hear me out, it does work. If you are using a score breaker set, the drag car is going to be quick enough to corner around it, and it is going to complete it. You're not going to get like 156,000 or like, probably a super high score, but you can still get well over 150,000 running something like a drag car with a score breaker set. I do know people might look at this and go, dude, why are you using a drag car? I don't know, man. I just like mixing this stuff up. But besides that, the next one is a Speedtrap. With that, I also use the exact same car with a different set. For that one, I use a score breaker. For this, I did end up using a Chemist on the lovely Corvette. I think we can probably tell what everybody does love to use. Am I right? The Corvette really is the GOAT. I feel like everyone knows that, especially in the Crew 2. This thing is absolutely fantastic. All you guys have to do on this one, though, is basically turn around, head toward the objective, go as fast as you can, and watch out for traffic. That's pretty much it for this speed trap. Besides that, we're going to have a buoy smashing for this one. I did end up using the Vector. I would say the 1414 Demon's also great. I just decided to run the Vector. I also had a pretty bad run. I kind of started off, went past it, went probably not quick enough in some areas, but I was kind of messing around, seeing what I could get. Still got around 153,000 points, guys, with a terrible run. So I would say if you're running a score breaker, you hit them all in a better run than I did, you will easily get a higher score. But I was like, you know what, 153K, I'll take that, man, I'll take that. Besides that, we're going to have the first event here, which is going to be a street race in the lovely Nissan GTR High Octane Edition. For this one, I got around 3 minutes and 3-ish seconds. It wasn't going to be the most perfect run out there. Like, yeah, I could probably go back in and probably be more perfect on certain corners. But the main thing about these summits is I'm trying to have fun. I'm trying to show that you don't have to be perfect in them. And I feel like in some ways that is going to work. The big thing about this event I can recommend, though, is being careful in the corners themselves. There is going to be a lot of them in this race, guys, so you can easily mess one or two of them up. Ask me how I know, because I was doing that. But getting the right angle going around them will easily set you up for the next corner. And also on some of them, you can cut them slightly by going over like the curbs and stuff. So do keep an eye out for those. Besides that, we're going to have the forced drift event here, which I would say is probably fairly straightforward. For me, I got around 286,000 points. Now, this car is not going to be leveled. I think it's 150 or something like that. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty dang slow. But for this, though, if you are running manual, guys, keep that car in third gear. At least I did. Found that to be the easiest way to do this one. That way, if you're going to be around third gear, you basically keep it in there. You pretty much keep knocking the car back and forth, keeping that multiplier going, and you will be good to go on a decent score. Keep in mind, having your icon points on the lovely slippery and all that, or like giving you the higher multiplier, is definitely worth using. It will end up helping on this one. After that, we will then have a Hypercar race, which is going to be the only Hypercar event in the entire summit. And for this one, you will have to use the Corvette C7ZR1. For this, guys, the biggest thing I can recommend here with this car is, well, you're going to want to keep the speed up, especially if you are playing solo. If you are going to be slipstreaming, then yeah, you can basically follow each other. This is mainly highway, and I would probably say that's going to be really easy to do it in that aspect. But if you are going to be running this solo, having a Nitro Chemist is a must. Will definitely help so dang much on this one. Funny thing is, big tip I have to give on this one, by the way, is it's probably going to sound kind of dumb, but try using your nitrous going down the hills or like the tiny hills you encounter. It is going to give you a bigger burst of speed. Again, I know that might sound kind of dumb, but I was noticing differences doing that in this one. And then for the next event, though, is going to be a drag race in the lovely Dodge Viper. Now, this is going to be the Bonneville, but for this, there is going to be a jump at the end of it. And yes, you're going to have to jump over all those vehicles into the finish line. What I normally do on the drag races, I don't know if it's the best method, but it always gets me a decent score. Or at least you're going to get a decent enough time on this to have a good score that will end up getting you into platinum. What I normally do on pretty much every drag race, though, is I basically get the car into 5th gear and then hit my nitrous afterwards. I feel like that's all you really need to do on it. Is it going to be the fastest method? Well, probably not, but at least it will give you a decent enough score to get you into platinum. We are then going to have a street race down here. It's going to be a no restriction. For me, I did end up picking the Porsche 911 Carrera 4S. I love this car. Is it going to be the best street race car? Well, that's probably going to be very arguable because the Lamborghini Countach is still incredibly great, but I really did always enjoy using the Porsche 911 Carrera. Never really saw anyone running this car, and I was like, you know what, let's try this thing out and see what it can do. Turns out, guys, I feel like it turns great. It's going to have a good overall speed to it, and I feel like it's a really great competitor in the street racing category. The one thing I can say about this event is do be prepared because there is a lot of corners in this one. Besides all of that, though, the final event here in the summit is probably going to be the most annoying for a lot of people. Personally, this was probably my favorite event in the entire summit, not even going to lie. For this, I did end up using the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution X. I did end up getting around a minute and 55. Now, keep in mind, I did not even adjust the vehicle's pro settings I had on it, which I am also going to have at the end of the video if you want to try it. But I still got around a minute and 55, which tells me one thing. If I was to go in and adjust this thing, I can easily make this thing a lot quicker. But I was like, I'm not really aiming for that. Let's see what I can get. And it turns out I got a pretty dang good score with the Lancer Evolution. I do know a lot of people are probably going to aim at using the Agera because that thing is also great. But I did want to end up trying the Evolution X, guys. It really is that impressive. The biggest thing about this event I can say is a lot of people might try to rush toward the corners and most likely try to drift or like to keep the car in line and stuff. And we all do know it's going to be a drift car, not a street car, so it's probably going to fight you a little bit. One thing I can recommend is probably slowing down, aiming the car, making sure it doesn't drift that much. That way you're probably going to grip a tad more, aim into that corner, and have even more speed. This is what I would recommend trying out. Really works so dang great with the Evolution. Besides all of that, the Street Showdown really is going to be a pretty dang fun summit. Even to this day, I gotta admit it, I still love the summits in the Crew 2 compared to Motorfest. Something about the way they do them, you get rewards for every single event. Every single event also seems to be really entertaining for absolutely no reason. But if you have any questions, do let me know in the comments below. Let's jump right into this.
2,